Every Bitcoin you don't purchase will cost you $13 million, my buddy, and it will increase by 29% annually ARR. That's my base scenario. I believe we have purchased Bitcoin 41 to 42 times. Since August 2020, we have continued to acquire and have not sold. It's a really straightforward plan. Bitcoin is cyberspace and Manhattan, and I want to keep purchasing cyberspace and Manhattan because I believe that 8 billion people will eventually want to invest in cyberspace and Manhattan, and of course the more. Since the capital markets support us more when we are transparent, if you're a Wall Street investor looking for a company that will acquire cyberspace, you're buying MicroStrategy stock. Some people like Bitcoin, so they buy Bitcoin. I tell people to buy Bitcoin every day of my life, and some people want more Bitcoin. The joke I have is that the only thing better than Bitcoin is more Bitcoin. In March 2000, when I was first starting out, it was a 0 billion asset class. Looking at it, the asset class was worth about $180 billion by August. 4 years later, it is currently worth $1.8 trillion, and I predict that it will rise to 18 trillion, 180 trillion, and beyond. I believe this is a very straightforward scenario from which Bitcoin will develop. 1% of the world's wealth to 7% of it over the next 21 years, and of course you should just go long and keep buying it. In my basic case, it will increase by 29% annually at an annual rate, from $1.8 trillion to $240 trillion. Elon is predicting 30 trillion, so we're still pursuing the robots and self-flying cars for Tesla, and that's what he's claiming he's going to be. 13 million coins, every Bitcoin you don't buy, will cost you $13 million, my friend. For Bitcoin, Ferrari will be worth $55 million. 21 years old actually, based on what I heard, I believe he will move more quickly. I don't believe he stated 21 years, but my estimate is long-term. I'm not sure how long it will last. We all adore Elon. How is your relationship with him? I'm going to stay in my lane. He works on rockets, satellites, autos, and robots. I'm just talking about Bitcoin. I've discussed it with many people in private, but perhaps more importantly, I'm extremely public. I believe Larry's theory of black rock is by far the most fascinating. Spokesperson for the Bitcoin movement, and he embodies the intellectual journey in which a successful financier learns about it and considers all the drawbacks. Good financiers then go over the checklist of the 100 risk factors because, if you're really good at finance, you can cross them off. You do the check, consider it, and decide that it's kind of scary, so you're going to put it off for a while, and you're skeptical. In 2013, he was skeptical. But eventually, if you're exposed to it enough, if there's a need, if you feel compelled, you may realize that you need to embrace a new idea and open your mind. It may be defensive, or it may be a growth initiative, but sometimes, when a significant number of people you respect start talking to you about it, you open your mind and adopt the stance that this is truly a new, profoundly revolutionary thing. It's digital capital I miss. Realized it before I was mistaken. I see a place for it in the world. We have a saying that goes, everyone is against Bitcoin before they're for it. So, it's not unique, it's fairly common. It's like 1 hour to denier, but after 10 hours, you realize you're a trader, and you think, well, it's an asset, I'll buy it cheap and sell it when it's too expensive. After 100 hours, you start to become more of an investor, thinking, perhaps this is a good investment. Similar to Apple or Facebook, and after 1,000 hours, you're a maximalist who thinks, actually, this is an ethical good, this is freedom and economic and property rights to 8 billion people, and this is a chance for 400 million companies to capitalize on an asset which isn't toxic. It's a pretty profound idea. I believe that you would need to be patient and buy in, two things that are really difficult because the American. I get up every day for the past 4.5 years and tell people to buy Bitcoin, but they don't sell it. These are very simple mantras, and I don't recommend anything else because there are 100,000 other investment ideas that might be appropriate to sell at some point. This is because investors change their minds very quickly, which is why they buy whole scams. I simply discuss Bitcoin and advise anyone considering purchasing it to be ready to. That's what I would say about Bitcoin. You know, when you're in your 20s, you have a lot of free time and you want respect and prosperity. You want to succeed in life. I need to earn money so I can buy a house, have a family, buy a car, do anything I want. Hold it for more than 4 years. The short period is 4 years. The mid period is 10 years. The right period is forever. Buy it so you can give it to your grandchildren so your family will be wealthy in 250 years. Want, so you take your time and invest it in making money. That's why millennials and Generation G have 100, 200, or 1,000 hours to spare. Now, when you're in your 60s or 80s, how many people over 55 spend 100 hours researching a completely new investment idea to figure out? Very rarely. It's because you've already made it, you already have a family, if you're going to have kids, a family, a house, you've already done it, and you did it by exercising your trade because you are good at something and you're confident, and that's your worldview, like Warren Buffett's worldview, etc. So I don't blame people. It's just when you're successful at the end of your life, you know what made you successful. You don't have a need to know when you're at the beginning of your life you're not successful. You've got no respect, you've got no future, you better find something new. That's why LEDs Apple. And you know they picked up electric. They played guitars and rock and roll because Beethoven and Mozart had already done the other thing too late. The new people get the new thing, so sometimes you find a person in their 30s, 40s, 50s, or 60s who will embrace the new idea, but it's like, what is it? You have to be really intellectually curious, Larry, because that's why BlackRock is going to make a fortune on this, or you have to be desperate frustrated because there's nothing to lose. The truth is, I would describe myself in that way in 2020. Enterprise value at $6 per share. The company's enterprise value is $6 per share, and I have to decide whether to sell it and retire or take a chance and be open-minded. I recall sitting by my pool with my friend Eric Weiss in March, when lockdowns were in effect, interest rates were at zero, the stock market was collapsing, and chaos was erupting. I said, so tell me about that Bitcoin thing again, because when you look at people, you'll find that they're one or the other. But it takes time for a paradigm shift to occur, hence, it's an exponential process that requires a genuine need or desire.